Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Fix This Writing. I'm so pleased you're joining us. My name is Leslie O'Flahaven, and my company is called eWrite, and I'm here with my wonderful partner, Professor Kim Sydow Campbell. Kim, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. We are excited to talk about fixing some writing today. I do that regularly as a professor, currently at the University of North Texas. I've been at this gig for 35 or so years, and I still love it.
All right, that's a ringing recommendation. Hey, would you all comment and introduce yourselves a little bit? See who's joining us today. We're watching our comments here. We want to see you, see your name, tell us where you're coming in from.
Yeah,
Uh,
please.
and yes, please, and we'll be glad to have your opinions about fixing this writing. So, Kim, while people are taking a moment to join us today, tell me about the weather where you are.
The weather where I am, well, believe it or not, it's actually been raining for the last few days in North Texas. We
Mm-hmm.
had something like, I don't know, 45 or more days of over 100 degrees and no moisture. So it was incredibly, we were like many people experiencing a drought. So I'm grateful it's raining here. I hope
Well,
it's nice, Roy, in South Carolina.
I hope so too. Hey, Roy, thanks for joining us today. And who do we have here? Hey, Santasha's coming in from Chicago. That's where I was born. So if you go to the corner of Ashland and Estes on the north side, you can see the commemorative plaque on the apartment where my parents live.
I
Hey,
love it.
Sarah, welcome, welcome. And who else is here?
John is here from Florida. And John, I know through LinkedIn. So I'm excited to see him. He just graduated in TechCom recently.
Wonderful. And
So,
we have a
hi, John.
Liz from Vancouver. Congratulations on your graduation, John. And Lisa's coming in from San Francisco. My sister lives near there. Say hi. And we have
Excellent.
Rachel Townsend coming in from West Tennessee. Hi there. What a great group.
I know. It's
Yeah.
terrific. We've got
Welcome,
Brody
Rebecca.
from Washington. That would be
Hmm.
not the DC, that would be the state.
The other Washington. Yes. And we
Oh,
have
I see
Paula.
Paula in Fort Worth, right down
Mhm.
the road from me. Hi, Paula.
There we go. And here's Carolyn Lawson. Hey, Carolyn, good to see you here.
Oh, I see my current student, Jillian
Oh,
Garcia.
one.
Hello. Hi,
There's
Jillian.
Jillian Garcia connecting with her professor. But look, we
Wow.
have Asan coming all the way from Iran. Wonderful. So happy
Excellent.
to have
Welcome.
you. And Hussein from Saudi. Hello,
Hi,
I'm
guys.
waving. There we go. And Ronald joining us. Hi, Ronald. Welcome, everybody. This is great. We always have a wide range of people. Here's Bridget coming in from Raleigh, Durham.
Mauli from Budapest.
Well, hello, Molly. Pleased to have you here. Elisa, there's our girl from Baltimore. Good old Elisa,
Saurav
welcome.
from India. Hello, Saurav.
Hi, Sarav. Hussein, coming from Egypt. It's a pleasure to meet you too. Welcome, Cindy. And look at this, John Ravis from Virginia. I could probably meet you for coffee, John. We're in the same neighborhood. Well, hello, Mr. Rob Dwyer. So pleased to have you join us. And here's John once again. So, Miss Kim, you ready? Ready to
I am
rock and
ready.
roll?
Let's fix some
Okay.
writing.
Okay, let's fix some writing. All right, here we go. Adding in our writing, and this is the lovely sample Kim has chosen to share with us today. And the question hanging in the air whenever Kim shows a fix this writing sample is, why does this writing need to be fixed? So let's give everybody just a moment or two to read this email from Human Resources. And won't you all weigh in? Won't you share in your comments? What do you think needs to be fixed in this sample from Human Resources? Any email that starts because of tax increases is going to be a difficult read. I'll be quiet for a moment while you read. Okay. What do you think? Why does this writing sample need to be fixed. Can you add your comments in? One person says starting the sentence with the word because is a no-no. I don't think that's a no-no, but when I see because of tax increases, I get a little bit sweaty.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes. Why does this writing need to be
So
fixed?
we've got a user who says it was decided. And of course, the question is by whom?
Yes, indeed. The powers that be.
Right.
Yes.
The
Anyone else?
unnamed powers, right?
The unnamed powers that be. Right. That's a classic move when you don't want to take responsibility.
Right. Anybody
Mhm.
else want to tell us why would you want this fixed? Rob is also talking about passive voice.
Yes.
Yeah, Rachel says the employee has no power in these statements.
Yes, let's I just want to hang there on for a moment on Rachel's comment. The
Sure.
sense that the reader has no power, and this is an important topic over which we each want dominion, our pay.
Right.
That's a great comment.
Absolutely. Jillian says the tone seems very writer focused, not
Yes.
reader focused.
Yes, and this writer says, "Oi," lots of passive voice. Everyone's
Now,
come.
yeah, now Rebecca says too long of a paragraph could break it up.
Mhm. Interesting comment, Rebecca. It's
Rebecca,
not
I'm curious to know why you think it's too long. Like, what is it about long that isn't good?
okay. Rebecca, maybe follow up on a comment. This paragraph's breaking, Giovanni says. Need an introduction to clear the issue.
Okay.
Because of tax increases. Hussein says that because of tax increases isn't much of an introduction.
Rebecca
Rebecca,
makes a good point. It doesn't tell the reader what they should do. In other words,
right.
if there's a call to action, we don't know what it is. That's not
Indeed.
clear.
And Rebecca's comment gives us, the bedrock of plain language, which is
Right.
answer the reader's question, what should I do? Or make it easy to do something. Mm.
Okay.
No sense of compassion. Indeed. No sense of the feelings the reader might have. Mhm.
I love Jennifer. Jennifer Carville says, TLDR.
Right. And
Too long, didn't read.
right. And the problem is it's not really very L. It's not that long.
But
It's
it
just
feels long,
mhm.
right? Okay,
Yes,
as Carolyn says, a new paragraph should give details. All
indeed.
right.
Okay, too many numbers piled together. A table with before and after would be better.
Yeah.
Interesting comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to see.
Someone, a LinkedIn user says the math doesn't work.
Mm,
That's an
hmm.
interesting comment too.
What a great comment too, because exactly 0 people prefer to read the math. If it's reading the math. Catherine Spivey says the percentage, numbers and the percentages need to be in a table. Indeed, that's even
Interesting.
possibly the third person who wants that.
Okay,
hmm
excellent.
Contact information for Wanda.
Okay, agreed.
Jill says we need a better structure wrapped with a bit of empathy. I don't
Excellent.
have a tattoo, but if I'm getting one, Jill's comments is my tattoo. Yep.
That would be it. Better
hmm
structure with empathy.
Right. It's not really very L. Yep, that's me. All right.
Different ways of communicating the information. A
Mhm.
paragraph is probably the worst way.
Okay. All right. We're having a great minds think
We
alike on
are.
today's episode of Fix This Writing. Beautify the text,
Excellent.
says Ehsan, with some infographics. All
Okay.
right. Well, Ms. Kim, are you ready to go to your fix?
Let's fix it.
Let's fix this writing. That's what this is called. Let's fix this writing.
All right. Here is one possibility. I have taken off the header information just to make this fit more neatly within the slide that I'm trying to show you. We know that I want you to be able to see the words. And so I've been cautious, but most of the intro, the heading information is gone.
Mhm.
I did change a little bit of the first couple of sentences, in particular, getting rid of the passive.
Mm.
So I made the company, I named them as we. I'm curious to know if this is enough empathy. So because of federal tax changes, we must revise our pension plan. starting in July. We'll offer 2 plans. With Plan A, we will contribute. With Plan B, we will contribute. So I'll be curious to know if that's enough empathy.
Mhm.
Leslie and I, in fact, talked about this earlier. It's possible that HR is not necessarily the great giver of empathy to employees. At least that's not been my experience. But I do think that if there's a leader in the company who's announced that there are going to be changes, it's certainly that leader's job to project their empathy to their
Mhm.
employees. And so if there was an announcement, Leslie had the suggestion of linking in the email to that announcement so that perhaps some of that empathy, we would be reminding people that we
Mhm.
do care, that we had to change this.
Yeah, I think we know about expressions of empathy that are familiar and kind of ooky pooky, like,
Mhm.
I understand how stressful this would be for you. Those
Right.
kinds of empathy are statements of empathy are called for in lots of situations. But it is an act of empathy to write in a candid way, even if you're
Okay.
not talking about feelings. I think that your change from passive to active is an act of empathy.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at
And
all the
I
great
I
comments.
agree, and it's because the company takes responsibility for making the changes.
Hmm.
Lisa says for more empathy, there's an opportunity to restate the company's commitment. I agree, Lisa. I agree.
Hmm. That would be a great addition. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
like due
agree.
to over because. Okay. If this is something that was brought up beforehand, I think because is applicable. That's an
Okay.
interesting and kind of a finesse point you're making
Yeah, it
about due
is.
to versus because. I don't, this is not a word choice I would make.
Okay.
I think beginning a sentence with the word because, so many people believe this is wrong, and I blame,
Mm.
for everyone, I blame their fourth grade teacher,
It would
Mrs.
be.
Miles.
Uh-huh.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Miles told you that was wrong. It's not wrong.
Yeah.
And here Giovanni says we can replace because with do. I think, in my opinion, that's not a meaningful change, but there have been
Yeah.
5 comments asking
Yes.
for it. So yes.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Okay.
Um,
Comment
Use
from
of as is
Arundhati.
does it
Mm,
mean because or does it mean during the time? Okay.
okay.
So I think some of this is individual difference in
Mhm,
how we perceive the tone of words.
mhm.
And what that suggests is I probably, if I had the time, I would change this so that none of those words were used, or at least I would put them later in the sentence by forefronting we must revise our pension plan,
Okay,
right?
okay. I'm fascinated by how much clarity the table brings, and how the table takes some of the pressure off the individual word choice.
I
You
would
know,
agree. For
right.
me, it does. I
Yeah.
certainly think, and we've had several comments, I think, that people said table was a good choice.
Yes.
Um, I
Mhm.
certainly recommend putting values in numerical values in some kind of a graphic, a table, instead of writing them into the paragraph.
Mhm.
Um, I did leave in that there are still numbers in the
Mhm.
paragraph. I wanted to make sure. Oftentimes, people expect visuals to take the place of text,
Mm.
and I'm very sensitive to those people who want to read every word and
Mhm.
who might skip the visual. There are
Okay.
those people, and so
Right.
I wanted to make it redundant so that you could get the information. Most of the information you can get in either place.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Your comments overlap in an interesting way with the suggestion Kevin's making. He's saying break that main paragraph into 2 pieces so the 2 plans stand out better.
yes,
I think that's a great idea,
yes, I
because
agree.
then the outcome you were going for, namely you could either read it or you can look at it either way.
Yeah,
Yeah. if you have any specific questions, what would classify as specific? Well, this
Yeah.
LinkedIn user is salty.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right, right,
Uh,
right,
yeah,
right.
Jill
So,
says, let the tables and bullets do the work for the reader.
mhm,
Exactly. The whole idea, if your goal is to inform your reader, not CYA. In other words,
mhm,
I'm certain that this plan must be announced by the company.
mhm,
However, if they actually care about informing the readers, they're going to make sure that the message is easier for people to get. And I
mhm.
think that this example I'm giving you here is certainly easier
Yes.
than the original.
Yes, indeed. And we have a few suggestions. Put an
Okay.
opening explanation in bullet points and then give you room for an empathy statement. Arundhati, celebrating your tip for tables for numbers.
Yeah.
Indeed. Broderick, should the final sentence before the table end with a colon instead of a period? I don't think that's ignorant, Broderick. I
No,
wouldn't put a colon in leading to a table. I would save the colon for a bulleted list. How
for a
about you,
list.
Kim?
Yeah,
Yeah.
same exactly for me.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because the sentence itself tells you that here is how the new plans would work. I
Mhm.
assume that what comes next is how the new plans work.
Yes, and we have 2 people who have commented about the burdens for, people who use a screen reader or who have
Yes,
color blindness.
absolutely.
The table may not be such a swank solution
Right.
as we think it is.
Right.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
that is one of the reasons why I wanted to include at least the basic information in the text.
Yes, and now I'm smiling. The original writer had no plan B. So, Kim, I'm afraid to
Ah,
keep smiling because you know, and I know, and I think everyone else knows that I forgot to share 2 really important questions as we leapt from the
oh,
version that needed fixing to the version that was fixed. So, if you don't mind, can I go back here and do what I should have
absolutely.
done the proper way? We did answer, why does this writing need to be fixed? We didn't answer, is this a
Ah,
writing problem you've seen before? So I'd like to ask you, Kim, because you selected this, are the
certainly.
writing problems you see here ones you've seen before? And anyone else who wants to answer that question, please do.
Yes, I'd love to hear from our audience about
Mhm,
whether this is a common thing for them to read. I
mhm,
can tell you from my perspective, it absolutely is.
mm.
So I would say relatively few people in the workplace think about using visuals. There's a small percentage who maybe think of it first, but I think they're the exception, not the rule. And so I think for most people, when they think about informing other people at work, they think that that means some kind of a written text, which means verbal information.
Okay.
And so I think most people overlook the opportunity to introduce visuals, not only because they're pretty and they make your message look like you actually paid attention to it and you care about it, but because they can make the information much easier for readers to grasp. So I see this all the time.
Okay. All right. So, and so are others. Ooh, Jennifer, dang, that's good. The original's an eyesore. Any day you can write eyesore is a
Yeah,
good day.
it's a good
Carolyn
day.
says, oh my, yes. And
Okay,
Rachel says, yes, but
yes.
she only
Okay.
used 4 S's,
Yeah.
only 4. I've seen this kind of email thrice over regarding increases to tuition.
Tuition.
That's,
Ah,
oof,
okay.
that's terrible. Thrice
It
over. Yes, I'm an editor. Passive voice is the bane of my existence. They don't get it. Okay. Commonplace. Renzo says, I work in HR and visuals are helpful indeed. Renzo, we
absolutely.
see you and thank you for joining, you HR writer. That's
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Absolutely.
Hmm. And oh, look at Elizabeth. This is actually a great and important comment. Elizabeth
Yes.
comment, the emails get ignored. I love her comment because the
Mhm.
writer doesn't want to be ignored at
Right.
all. So
Right.
there's
Why
the
go to the work involved in
mm,
crafting an email? Because this email, as far as I can tell, is accurate.
mhm,
I did the revision based on the information that's in this one. So it's not that I'm giving inaccurate information to my readers. It's
mhm,
there. But if I care that they get it,
yeah,
then putting it in a format that makes it more
right.
noticeable and easier to read, that's my job, and people will respect me for that,
Well, I'll just
right?
say the quiet part out loud. They'll leave you alone. They won't
Yes.
email
Yeah.
you again. You
Right.
know, no one wants to answer the same question again. Arundhati, I read an article on passive voice. There is a case for using it when the writer feels powerless. I'll make a stronger case for using it when the writer does not want to indict the reader in any way. For
Yeah.
example, because the incorrect address was provided at checkout,
Correct.
the package didn't get delivered, not
Right.
because you didn't, right? Rob's
Absolutely.
commenting, recognizing what outcome you're looking for helps when you get started. Indeed, there's a choice that needs to be made. It's incredibly important the reader understands action is required. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Lisa's asking Arundhati, would be interested in that article? Yes, please share. Thank you, Arundhati. Thanks so
Yeah.
much. So here's the other question I forgot to ask you because I was so eager to have you show the after. Why do you think the writer wrote it this way, Kim? Why?
So I think part of this goes back to what I said earlier, and that is, I don't think most workplace professionals think about using a visual to clarify their message. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't. I think that, when people learn to write, they think about was it Mrs. Miles in the fourth grade?
Yes, Mrs.
Um,
Miles. Yeah.
right? For me, it was Mrs. Murphy. Anyway, I think that there's kind of a block. And so
Mm,
because writing is often very rarely, whatever, writing is very rarely taught to us as a means of communicating with other people. It's usually about expression, or it's about displaying our knowledge.
mm,
It's not about providing a message to someone who needs it. And so
mm-hmm.
we don't think about things like visuals. I
Right.
also think that if the writer is not held accountable for how many people call and complain they can't understand, then
Right.
why would the writer do a better job? If none of their performance is judged by how well they communicate information, then what's the incentive?
Indeed, indeed. And Kevin's comment for people who don't like to start a sentence with because we could easily write federal tax
Yeah,
increases require us.
yeah,
I,
that's a
I
good
think your
idea.
point's very well taken, Kim. Many people absorb repeat emails and phone calls because their communication is unclear. They
Yeah.
absorb it and they indict the reader for not
Yes,
understanding.
absolutely.
And the sense
Very
that
common.
we can avoid such problems if we package information in a way the reader can understand. That's something that has to be developed. So we're
Yes,
getting close to the end here, and we're definitely happy to have any of your other comments. And a few have come in. Carolyn's suggesting the action should be mentioned in the subject line. Indeed, and it's
agreed.
not an email about the changes, it's an email about how
Yeah,
to invest with these changes.
yeah.
I guess it made sense to the writer.
Of course,
Yes,
right? Of
right. And
course.
this is true. You can't start with because unless you write a complete sentence. Indeed. So, Ms. Kim, with the time ticking down, I want
Yes,
to show quickly that we are going to meet again on September 28th. It will be
yes,
my turn to pick the sample. I can't wait. I'm looking for a doozy. So, if any of you want to submit a sample
yes.
for us to fix or for me to fix for our September 28th meeting, I would just love it. We'll be back with you on September 28th at 2 p.m. Now, Kim, do you want to show the other version? The other
I
other?
I did wonder how many of you, because we talked about the visual impact of this table, I wanted to make sure that I talked a little bit about all visuals are not equal. So I believe if we replace the table with this bar graph, we might get people's attention, but I don't think we would make it easier for them to read. It requires quite a bit of processing to figure out which color this is not easier to
I wrote
figure
that.
exactly. It requires you to spend some time thinking about what do the different colors mean, and there are numbers in different colors and numbers, and it's not that it's impossible. Of course, it's based on the same information. comparing plan A and plan B, there might be some situations in which this was important. For example, if the company was making a presentation not to employees, one of the things that it would show is that their required contribution, is the same. Right? They're not increasing, their required contribution is going to be the same, $37.50. And they only have to pony up the extra, but that's a different audience and a different message. Okay, yes. Good. I'm glad table was much better, Rob says.
Right.
We have stack bar charts make me unhappy. I like that.
People are mutinying, Kim. There's a mutiny.
I love it. That's great. That's great.
Okay.
So the reason I created that was because, of course, there's always multiple ways. No two writers are going to fix things exactly the same way. And I just wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about how all visuals are not equal.
Okay. And so we did. Hey, we better shut it down. They're mutinying.
Okay. Tables are better. Tables are better. We're going back now. Oh, there we go. Sorry. We're both changing slides at the same time.
Right. Okay. Well, and I think that's just about it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. As usual, we will share the before and after version, and the recording of this LinkedIn Live broadcast will be available. Kim, you are the best. Partnering with you on this project is a joy of my life. Thank you, everybody who joined us, and we'll see you all soon.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Yes. Before we close out, I will provide this right here.
Yeah. Excellent. That's great.
Our people are the best. I'm going to sign off now. Bye-bye.
This is so fun. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.